Shove it, man!
Shove it, squad. Today's video is one that's been coming for a long time, but it's quite a short run, so I put it off. I didn't realise the interesting backstory of today's Ring of the Hawk competitor, and that has now piqued my interest to the point I must make this video. I must also make this video because it was a Patreon request by Enzo Vital. If you want to make the Hawk squawk, sign up today. Just need to give you guys a small channel update. Recently, every WWE video I've made has been hit with copyright. I know I take the piss with the amount of footage I use, but it's only WWE videos that are getting taken down. So that's where all the recent videos have gone, if you're wondering. I'm going to re-upload them, and I'm going to have to start using a bit more stills rather than pure video. I know it sucks, but WWE really hit me with a brick over this one. What am I going to do, eh? And of course,
if you know a wrestler that can do the J-O-B to the H-J-W-K any night, any day, ha ha! Shove their name in the comments, Jack!
Okay, let's do it. Gunner Scott, do the lady say he's hot? Small bit of backstory first. Gunner Scott had a very successful spell in developmental before he was called up to the main roster. He was the OVW Heavyweight Champion. He played the part of a shoot fighter known for his grappling. He was placed in a feud with a young CM Punk, which got him called up to the main roster. His first match came in 2004 when he was wrestling as Brent Albright. He was just a jobber. Match 1, Raw. 2-minute challenge, tag match. Rhino and Tajiri, who looks like he's running against an invisible wall, versus Brent Albright and Chris Cage. Our guy's the short-haired one, if you didn't know. We start out with Tajiri, but we get a hip toss and a knee drop. Some frogs come out to watch the match. Tajiri nails a hard kick on our guy, but Chris Cage interrupts the count. Tajiri hits another kick before tagging Rhino in. Albright does manage to kick him square in the gut before tagging his partner in. Rhino looks to have Chris Cage beaten, but Albright sneaks into the ring, so Rhino punches him and Tajiri boots him out the ring. Rhino hits the gore on Chris Cage, but some French guys are on the apron and the ref can't count the pin. The 2-minute time expires, so technically I guess our guy won. So it was a job match where Brent Albright was a nobody. Well, this is a bit of an anticlimax. I wasn't really expecting to give out any S grades in this video. He hit one kick to the gut. Whatever, the main video starts in 2 years' time from the looks of it, so shove it. Match 2, Smackdown. Booker T with SHARMELLI versus our guy who's now been given the name of Gunner Scott. But he doesn't get an entrance though. But he does have long hair though, so at least that's something for him. Booker takes him down for a waistlock takeover and he's in a great mood. Gunner tries to mount a comeback, but he gets a shoulder block tackle. Booker tries to follow up, but Scott gives him a drop toe hold out of nowhere, much to his surprise. Booker comes back at him with some big knees to the gut and he also hits a scoop slam. Booker now has a sleep hold on, but Scott fights it off with an arm drag. Scott tries to box him, but he gets thumbed in the eyelid. The Bookman tries a suplex now, but Scott wriggles out of that one. He tries to roll up Booker, but he holds onto the ropes. Booker immediately creams him with a kick. It looks like it might be over now. Booker tries to punch Scott down, who fights better punches of his own. He runs at Booker, but he gets a spine buster. Suddenly the Boogeyman's music hits. This distracts Booker and Scott rolls him up. Somehow that is the 3. I like that Scott bridged back on the pin to make it a bit more memorable than a simple roll-up. Teddy Long marches out and he declares Scott the winner whilst Booker goes nuts. Straight after this, Scott gets to do a backstage interview. He's celebrating, but that's interrupted by Benoit, who's happy for him. Scott doesn't have that much to say, unfortunately. It wasn't much of a match. He still didn't get to show much in the ring, but he did get a massive upset win. I'll give this a C. I might be a bit generous here, but I usually start episodes of Ring of the Hawk in a good mood. Then it goes downhill. Before the next match, Booker's being interviewed backstage when he's interrupted by Gunner. He introduces himself to Book and says, "You probably don't remember me." Booker says he has a cold and can't deal with him tonight, but he'll find an opponent for Gunner Scott. Booker and SHARMELLI will also be present for the match as Booker chooses his opponent. Match 3, Smackdown. Gunner Scott, who gets to make his first ever entrance. Unfortunately, his match is delayed as Booker's cutting a promo and snorting Albus oil. He finally gets around to announcing that Finlay will be his opponent. Finlay starts with a headlock takeover, then he grabs Gunner's arm and kicks him in the face. Finlay's all over Gunner like a bad shirt of his European uppercuts. Gunner finally fights back with a float over in the corner and a drop kick. Finlay goes out the ring where Gunner tries a baseball slide, but he's wrapped up in the ring skirt by Finlay and he gets battered. The Irishman gets him back in the ring where he hits a loud clothesline. Finlay keeps going with a scoop slam and an ass drop for a 2 count. Finlay now tries something from the top rope, but Gunner gets his boot up. Gunner's fired up now and he knocks Finlay down. He sends Finlay into the corner and then he throws him overhead for a big overhead suplex. Gunner stays on him and he catapults Finlay out the ring. Finlay drags him out of the ring and tries to hit Scott with a shillelagh, but Scott fights it off and gives him a back body drop on the outside of the ring. The ref is distracted and Booker boots Scott in the face. Scott's now back in the ring and Finlay puts him away with a Celtic cross. Booker and Finlay start beating him down after the bell, but they're run off by Benoit. What a hero. That was a pretty nice exchange, to be fair. It could have gone on for a bit longer, but unlike the other matches we've seen so far, I do feel like seeing more of him after this one. This one's a legit see. Match 4, Smackdown, Booker T with Sharmell versus Gunner Scott, who gets a great ovation from the fans. Scott's now being described as Chris Benoit's protege. Scott overpowers Booker into the corner and then shoves him to show some fire. Booker puts him in a headlock, so Scott punches him in the ribs. Booker comes back for knockdown, but then Scott immediately gives him a drop toe hold. Scott gives him some chops in the corner before Booker cuts him off by dropping him across the ropes. Booker tries to get him to tap out now, but he can't manage it. He decides to up his game with a scissors kick, but instead Gunner knocks him down. Gunner is able to dodge Booker's kick and then takes him down with an elbow to the face. Scott now shows his similarities to Benoit as he hits multiple snap suplexes. It looks like Booker could be in trouble, but he shuts Scott down with a kick to the face. Booker attempts a scoop slam, but Scott wriggles out of it and he attempts a roll up with a bridge. This time Booker kicks out. Booker has to resort to cheating as his wife grabs Scott's leg when he turns around and he gets a kick to the face. Booker hits a scissors kick and that's it, he's done. The T-Man grabs a mic and stands on the commentary table. He announces that he just beat Gunner something. This is the start of his King Booker gimmick. Another decent match, but he's not really getting in much offense, so I'll give this one a D. Match 5, Smackdown tag match. Booker T with Sharmell teams up with Finlay to take on Chris Benoit and Gunner Scott, who come out together. Scott shoves Booker T before the bell. Booker returns the favour with a slap and then the bell rings. There's a lot of high intensity here. Booker hits some high impact shoulders in the corner before both guys trade chops. The crowd are going mad for Gunner. Scott takes him down but he can't get the free. Then he gets slowed down by a thumb to the eyelid. Finlay's in now, who takes Gunner down with a headlock takeover. Finlay lets him up but he floors him straight away with a clothesline. Gunner suddenly turns it around by dragging Finlay's arm. He thinks he's made the ropes but Gunner kicks the ropes into his nutsack, nice. Scott hits an inverted atomic drop and a clothesline before Finlay slows him down again. Gunner fights off another submission attempt but Finlay comes straight back at him with a clothesline. Hard hitting match here. Booker's back in now and he does the stuttering strikes in the corner. Out of nowhere, Scott floats over Booker in the corner and nails a snap suplex for a 2. Booker isn't having it and he kicks Scott in the face for a 2. The commentary team won't stop the Benoit comparisons. Okay, we get it. Booker puts on the sleeper hold which Scott fights off, but Booker immediately floors him again. Finlay has the tag now and he elbow drops him twice. Finlay slams him in the corner and goes for a second rope ass drop, but Scott gets his knees up and then he rolls forward to tag in Benoit for the first time. Benoit wrestles for a long while before bringing Scott back in. He takes Booker down with some Benoit chops. Scott gives Booker a snap suplex for a 2 count. Scott unfortunately loses the advantage for his team and then Booker knocks Scott off the top rope as he crashes to the outside of the ring. Looked rough. We're back to Gunner Scott being isolated again. Booker's acting like a boxer and it seems to be working. Booker hits a big kick for a 2 count, then Booker tries a suplex which Scott wriggles out of as he hits Booker with a Russian leg sweep. Now Benoit's back in. Unfortunately for Benoit, his own partner distracts the referee whilst Finlay cheats on the outside. He smashes Benoit with his shillelagh. Booker still can't beat Benoit and there's a double down after a German suplex. Scott gets the hot tag as he knocks Booker down time and time again. He has a pretty sweet dropkick too. Scott boots Booker again in the corner and now he nails a second rope dropkick. Finlay has to break up the pin. Finlay and Benoit suddenly lose the plot and they decide to take each other out over the top rope. It looked rough. Booker's alone with Scott now and he kicks him in the side of the head. Bobby Lashley appears at the top of the ramp and he sits on Booker's throne. That distracts Booker and Scott fights off the bookend attempt to roll Booker up with a crucifix. Scott has now pinned Booker twice, with slight help, but whatever. I have to point out that Scott spent about 15 minutes of this match in the ring out of 18 minutes, so he's not scared to get his hands dirty. This one's a B, good stuff. Match 6, Smackdown tag match. Matt Hardy and Gunner Scott versus William Regal and Finlay. Scott starts the match with Finlay and he takes him down with a single leg. Scott makes a couple of quick covers before Finlay calls for a timeout. Finlay suddenly charges with a cheap shot and he hits a big kick to the back. Regal's in now, but Scott takes him down with a back body drop. William Regal desperately tags Finlay back in, who seems to have Scott's number. Scott suddenly shows some fire and he shoves Finlay. They lock up and he backs him into the corner to tag Matt in. Finlay and Regal keep cheating and Scott eventually has enough and he charges at Regal, smashing him off the apron. Finlay retaliates by slapping Scott. Surprisingly, Matt Hardy's the one to get completely isolated in this one, while Scott does nothing apart from break up the odd pin. In fact, he causes more harm than good to his own partner. 10 minutes pass before Scott gets the tag. He floors both guys with some high impact offense. He's cut off in seconds with a thumb to the eyelid, but his eyelids are tough and he hits Finlay with a German suplex instead. He quickly follows that with a top rope dropkick, but the pin gets broken up. Scott hits an overhead belly to belly on Regal, which distracts the referee. Whilst that's going on, Finlay sneaks into the ring and he wins the match with a shillelagh shot. It gets worse now because the little bastard Hornswoggle attacks Gunner Scott and Finlay throws him on top of Scott. So this was a hell of a mixed bag here. Because it was a mixed bag, the best thing to do is to give him a C to leave room for improvement. Match 7, Smackdown. Finlay. Not again. He'll take on Gunner Scott, who of course is completely screwed. He charges straight at Finlay with a double leg and punches to the face. His brawling isn't as good as Finlay's and he quickly turns it around with clothesline. Not once, not twice, but thrice, and it sure wasn't nice. Finlay puts on a sleeper, but then he changes his mind and he boots Scott in the back. Scott tries to fight back with punches to the gut, but he gets a thumb to the eyelid. Finlay hits a scoop slam, but Scott manages to get his boot up on the following dive. Scott starts firing up by smashing Finlay into the corner. Scott hits a couple of big suplexes, which leaves Finlay rocking. He hits the second rope dropkick and Scott screams at the crowd. Finlay bails from the ring, but now Hornswoggle is in the ring going nuts. Finlay tackles him down because he doesn't want to be DQ'd. The ref takes Finlay's stick away, but there's another one in the corner and Finlay smashes it into Scott for the 3. Yeah, this one was never going to be in doubt, let's be honest. I couldn't get into this one, there was no enjoyment seeing him fight Finlay, and by match 6 you would expect him to be able to do more than 3 things in a match. It's a D. Match 8, Smackdown. Final match. Wait, what? I thought we were supposed to be seeing some amazing matches in this run. Where were they? Gunner Scott versus Mr. Kennedy, who calls him Gunner something. No wonder this guy's run in the company is so forgotten. Scott tries to work on Kennedy's arm, but he keeps fighting it off. Kennedy grabs him and throws him onto the ropes. Mr. Kennedy keeps charging and dropping elbows. Scott looks like he's out of it already. Kennedy slams Scott and he attempts a dive. Scott gets his foot up, but Kennedy sees it coming. Scott's now back up, but he doesn't have anything he can really do. Kennedy throws him down to the mat and then Kennedy wins with a swanton bomb. It's an S, I'm sorry, this one was the worst of the bunch. Game over. Somehow it gets even worse now because the great Khali is here, who's more of a serious character in 2006. He picks Scott up by his throat and hits him with a choke bomb. Daivari is summoned to the ring, he's carrying a body bag. He rolls Gunner Scott into the body bag and that's the last time we'll see him in the WWE. All that's left to do now is let you know about some of the interesting behind the scenes stuff which led to the downfall of Gunner Scott. When the WWE first started using him on the main roster, the plan was to build him up as a protege to Benoit and then eventually turn him on him. But at some point, agents changed their mind about Gunner Scott. It was down to agents Dean Malenko and Finlay. Wow, this guy really had it in for him. They sent him back to developmental and asked him to completely change his wrestling style from Benoit's, which I think is expecting a bit much of someone. All that's left to do is give Gunner Scott a grade on Ring of the Hawk. It's really hard because I reckon he had a hell of a lot more in his locker than we got to see. But I do have to grade what was in front of me. And what I saw was someone trying hard who was a victim of circumstances, but it's a D, I'm sorry. I'm still willing to give him a place on the Ring of the Hawk roster for having potential. And if you don't agree with that, I'll go flipping mental.